On the store operations board, how would you effectively balance the auxiliaries' need for profitable businesses and students' interest as to what kind of businesses are on campus? The order for this question is Beverly and Oscar, Andy, Will, and Ronald.
Well, currently there is a committee overseeing the Lower Sproul revitalization and the ASUC auxiliaries need for more profitable companies. If we don't have more profitable companies, the ASUC is going to be greatly affected by this. And the ASUC auxiliary has been accused of depleting students' funds, but it's really hard for them to work with the student senate when we have all of these different concerns that are coming up, whether they're sustainable, whether they fit within our values, or whether or not they're profitable. I think what's really important is to have a profitable company come in and from the very beginning and then negotiate from there. We need to make ourselves open and receptive to this so that we don't start to deplete these funds and so that we do increase our revenue. Like I said before, it's so important to really open ourselves up to this because businesses don't have an incentive. I know groups such as In-N-Out, Starbucks, other places like that have simply turned themselves away just because they don't want to work with the student government. Since we are one of the few autonomous student governments in the nation, we don't have that work with the university. And I think we really need to work with the university, the ASUC auxiliary, really reestablish those connections because if we don't, we are at risk of losing our autonomy.
Thank you. Oscar is next.
So I agree, we do need to increase revenue in the ASUC. That is paramount. The Lower Sproul businesses right now, not all of them are necessarily increasing all of that revenue, it's true. We do need to find other sources. But we also need to make sure that we have student input into what's going on. As someone who's been in the store operations board meetings constantly, as someone who's seen what it's like to have student protesters in the meeting, students expressing their voice, I think it's really important for us to agree to find businesses that will be supported by our students on our campus. If we have businesses that are coming in that students don't necessarily support, we're talking about a revenue stream. We're assuming that this revenue stream is going to come in and we're going to benefit from it. But if students don't support the business, we're not going to make any of that money. We need to find ways to make sure that we get businesses into Lower Sproul that includes that has an input, right? And we can do that by a lot of different reasons. Store operations board are not always shown, there's no attendance unless students are there to protest and to express an opinion. But we need to make sure that store operations boards are being publicized massively. We need to make sure that we have students represented there all the time, not just when one certain business is coming in. We need to make sure that we stick to our values as a campus, that we know what our traditions are, that we preserve these traditions that we've kept for so long at UC Berkeley, that we brag about as the #1 public institution in the nation. We need to keep that, and we need to sustain that and find ways of making sure that our businesses that are coming in are socially responsible, are environmentally sustainable, are at par with UC Berkeley as an institution. And we can only do that if we have student input into that process. Because students are the ones that will determine the future of those businesses. It's not up to the auxiliary. The auxiliary is not the one who's going to be consuming there. It's the students. So if we bring if we bring businesses that are not supported, we're not going to succeed. So we need to make sure that students are prioritized in that process. The auxiliary can't make that decision on our own. We need to voice our opinions for it.
Thank you.
Before I answer, I came up with a slogan. Right now, the ASUC fucks you, but the ASUC should be helping you fuck. I think that pretty much sums about the. Hey, Mom. No, actually, I'm giving a speech right now. I'm running for president of the school. No, yeah, I'm still graduating. Alright, well, no, I'll call you back then. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so people have criticized me. I'm graduating. I'm a senior right now. They've asked me if I win, will I stay here? The answer is no. But I also will not resign the office. I'll be moving to LA. I'll be working there. But really, the ASUC is pretty pointless anyway. It's not like the president does much. I actually don't really know the responsibilities. I just kind of decided to run because it seemed fun. So yeah, I'll be down there, and hopefully, I think I'll do a better job than any other candidate. Also, before I close, I promised Grace I'd say hi to her. So, Grace.
Okay, thank you. Will?
Thank you. So I'll keep this brief because I sort of already answered a lot of this question, but I guess now that I have time, I'll talk about some more ideas. So first, the president is able to appoint a representative to the student store. It's one of his appointments, or one of his or her appointments, and I believe it's a really important one, and one that wasn't discussed this year or talked about. And when the student store is our biggest revenue stream, I think it's really important to have a discussion about that and who gets appointed and what they talk about and what they do at the student store, and utilize that as a way to communicate with students about what the student store is doing, what they're offering, how you can make it more appealing for everyone involved. Also, besides, I did what Oscar said in that when students are complaining and when there's a lot of outrage or voicing of opinions about something, then when profitability and giving money back to the students is the ultimate goal, you do have to question whether or not it will be as profitable as some people say. So I think it's a very important thing to take into account. And that's why I also want to talk about other sources like better advertising pamphlets, making the ASUCC more appealing. Like, you know, other schools, UCLA, Santa Barbara, San Diego, have really good ways and really good advertising means of reaching out to students, showing them how you can get involved, what the student voice is. Because a large part of the problem is our mechanism is to create more student committees and try to get people involved. But in the end, there's going to be a cap on that because so many students want to get involved and you're still not going to be able to incorporate the entirety of the student body. So to reference back to an earlier point, I think one thing that is responsible to send out to all your listservs is the store operations board's agenda, what you're going to talk about, and start this dialogue early on. Because the reason we're in the situation we're in is because the Panda discussion started 2 years ago when Naya reached out to a group without the student's voice. And I agree that's a complete problem. And so when we start anything next year, even if it's other solutions and being able to multitask, like case competitions, reaching out to the students about that, talking about what the options are, saying it at the beginning so we don't find ourselves in a situation where we're saying, oh, we're already 2 years down the line, we're going to be dipping into the negative next year, and so we're kind of stuck. I don't believe we're stuck. I believe there's always alternatives out, and as all those ideas I mentioned, and I guess that's why I addressed it in the first question, one of my platforms, and it was asked again, is because it is very important. And as a manager of the ASUC, it's something we need to do better and manage it with a more professional and a more strategic approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Juan, who's the last speaker?
This is a good time to remind ourselves that this is a public university and that the university is paid for by the public. And so when we're talking about universities and students deciding, having to vie off against each other over how to run our own ASUC our own building, that's kind of ridiculous. And what we have currently is tokenism. We have a representative who's part of a committee in which the student is outnumbered by university representatives, and that's not democratic. I think I would appoint someone to such as the store operations board, but that person would be someone who would come back with regular reports and raise issues that are new issues and demands on that board. We need to have lower prices for textbooks, things like that, and and other issues such as what's happening with Panda Express. The students' voices need to be really heard and fought for, and we need to organize the student body to win things like this. We just have to see ourselves and the ASUC as a fighting student union, not simply a liaison between the university and students, but something that organizes our collective power so that we actually are truly representing the student body.
Thank you. Thank you to all our candidates. Thank you for everyone for coming out. Be encouraged to vote next week's election and look out for the Daily House.